let's get this shared out. What time are we on? Nearly on 8 o'clock. Let's share it to there. Share it onto. Right, evening all. It is Tuesday night, Racing League with VRL, and tonight we are in sunny, not so sunny, usually quite cold actually, Russia. Track at Sochi, based around the Olympic stadiums. Does show for quite a technical track, although it is a very fast flowing track, can certainly be quite interesting to drive. I've only done it once in a competition before, which was last Friday, which sadly was just outside the points with a P12, so hopefully looking for an improvement on that, and I've had a little tweak on my setup since then, which hopefully will give us out a little bit of an edge. Currently in Constructors on a Tuesday night. I took a little bit of a knock neck last week, dropping a couple of points which would have been quite valuable in Championship, so I currently sit in P8 in the driver's standings on 44 points, with Casey Jennett just 4 points ahead in P7 on 48 points. Now I haven't actually seen Casey's name flag up tonight, so with him potentially not racing by the looks of it, it could be a good opportunity for some points and potentially build a position there in the race tonight. Run up over the next few nights, got a few good races coming up. Wednesday night, tomorrow night in Mexico, the home of penalties. Most drivers will get penalties for exceeding track limits, and that also includes myself, although majority of us will get penalties, at least 3 seconds worth of time penalties at most tracks these days, just for trying to push the limits, or sometimes just being human and out braking or under braking for certain corners. Thursday night are at the Temple of Speed at Monza in Italy, and Friday night finishing the week off for myself in Abu Dhabi. It is not the week conclusion, there is the Netherlands race at Zandvoort on Saturday. However, for other reasons, I will not be racing this Saturday. Hopefully we'll make it a good race, better than certainly the Russian drivers have made this race. We've obviously got Nikita Mazepin currently as a Russian in Formula 1, who is racing in Haas, obviously currently living up to his nickname that he's been named by predominantly every Formula 1 spectator of Mazepin. Spinning at every Grand Prix so far during the course of the weekend at some point. However, previously, last year and prior, we had Danny Kvyat, who was a Russian. Now he got a little bit better, obviously had a run at Toro Rosso, went up to Red Bull for a year and a half before 1 year out after being taken away from the Red Bull team, and then had a 1 year stint with AlphaTauri as it was rebranded last year. However, now in the sport, so just the one Russian in the sport now. Let's see first of all what the weather's looking like for this qualifying session. 18 minutes of qualifying followed by 50% race. We've got a dry qualifying and a dry race, so should mean it's quite a balanced race. Also a little bit easier on strategy. You can do a one stop here, however it really does depend on your pace. Now my pace isn't great on qualifying, but come the race hopefully we can pick up a couple of positions here.
All set.
See how we get on.
Everyone clear? Car to track.
So as a constructor, driving in the AlphaTauri on Tuesday night, we are actually sat second in the Constructors' Championship out of the 10 teams. Myself and Drofter now. Drofter is not racing tonight, so this could really hit us hard in the Championship and drop us down a couple of positions if I can't pull in some good points this evening. Just get cleanly through this outlap though and get a little bit of space to walk. We see in front in the Alfa Romeo. Not entirely sure who that is in a Red Bull behind, but certainly like to get a little bit of space out while building the warmth in the tyres for our hot lap. Also, it's good just for a little bit of a recce as you go back round the track for the final time before your flying lap. Now, for myself, I haven't actually done any practice again today. But we did race here all last Friday, so hopefully won't be any surprises and I'll be able to still put a lap together. A little bit of slide there through the left-hander as I ran over the curb, something I'll be avoiding hopefully throughout the race. Curbs do have a habit of pulling you in here, and with how close they can be to certain barriers, it can also end your race very, very quickly. So coming into the last part of the track now, and you will hear me go pretty much radio silent as I go on to this flying lap. Whoa, okay, that was not planned.
You've got front wing damage. Recommend you box for a new one.
Yeah, we'll ignore that happened and try to get back to the pits in one piece.
Okay, we can take you this lap.
So it is a front wing change and bought on a new set of softs. These ones have now obviously been out and about, so we'll put a new set on. Try to keep a set free for the race. I usually only do 2 runs in qualifying, as most of you that watch will know. Although I'm trying to get these home without putting too much wear on them, just in case I might have to go for an extra lap at the end. But I don't want, obviously I want to keep that spare set free and available for the race. Also, there's potential of getting a top 10 qualifying position. There's only 12 or 13 on the grid tonight, which is actually quite a small grid for us. So the chances of getting on the in the top 10 is quite high. So whatever tyre you do qualify on is the tyre that you are going to need to start the race on. So I certainly wouldn't want to be starting the race on these really, knowing that I've just done 2 laps. I would have to further outlap, hot lap and in laps, and a further 3 on this tyre. It would mean I'd be pitting after only very few laps, and I'd have to go for one hell of an undercut to try and make some positions back, but it would also mean pushing me into a 2-stop, which is not ideal around here. Only exception to that is if you can benefit from a safety car. As we saw as I went up into turn 2, so as you come down start finish straight, you've got a slight kink to the right, which is classed as turn 1. It is a kink, you can stay at full throttle through there.
When you're ready, let's go.
However, turn 2 is a very hard braking zone and 90-degree right-hander. It is the first proper braking zone, so it's certainly a long run, so the start is critical here at Russia, and track position for the rest of the lap is actually quite important because it's such long flowing corners. If you position your car correctly, there aren't many opportunities for good overtake. So fuel back up, and we'll head back out and see what we can do this time. Hopefully keep it a little bit cleaner and not jump across too many curbs. Ideally not take the front wing off would be absolutely brilliant. Don't want a repeat of Monaco yesterday where we had, I don't even remember how many pit stops I had last night, but I think it was about 7 pit stops at Monaco for the Grand Prix last night, and all of which were front wing changes required. But that is quite standard around the track at Monaco. Multiple drivers were having a very hefty amount of pit stops, and to be honest I was quite glad just to finish. Got P8 in the end, which was 4 points, which honestly is more than I expected to get last night in Monaco with a grid of 16. So just a nice slow outlap. Got no traffic behind and got quite a good block in front as well, so we're in a nice bit of clear traffic, so hopefully we won't get any traffic come out of the pit exit as we start to come around the final section of the lap and ready for our hot lap. Hopefully get a registered time on the board on this occasion. Certainly going to be a few out there pushing track limits, which will probably lose and have some lap times deleted. And I must admit that was a scruffy exit by myself. That's certainly going to cost us a little bit of time straight away. Not ideal, but that's how it goes. A little bit too heavy on the brake there. Could have been a lot earlier releasing. Again, it's just a little tenth or two chipping away this time, which is going to be a very long way from perfect. But nonetheless, it is a time on the ball. It's good for a banker lap, but there's a lot of improvements out there to be made. Two final right-handers. There we go, so first time across the line.
Right, come in at the end of this lap.
32.6 puts me up into P4 at the moment with that initial lap time. It will get beaten quite quickly, I would have presumed. I could certainly see a lot of errors personally from my point of view. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is going to get beaten. It's just a case of when and by how much. I would personally say probably got about another 4 or 5 tenths in the car, but 4 or 5 tenths is a massive difference around here. As many of you know, and I've seen the standings previously, 4 or 5 tenths can be the difference between 1st and 10th place in a qualifying session, depending on the track. Now the top 3 or 4 do tend to, how can I put it, bugger off in a distance and leave everyone else a good second or so behind, but that's where the battle lies, in the midfield. Certainly opportunities, and then there's obviously always opportunities of others when they are potentially having an incident or don't quite make the most of their lap. I was watching Clarkey. I don't know whether he thought I might have been on a lap. I do want him to accelerate, so I believe he might be going on to a lap. I'm on the Lynn lap. I might actually be holding someone up here. What we're going to do is I'm actually going to get past Clark, because I do think he thinks I'm on an out lap or something, which I'm not, so I just want to make it clear that I'm not to him. Certainly saving tyres a little bit though, through that very slow in lap. There we are, into the pit lane. And with the prospect of starting in the top 5, I think I will go back out on the spare set of soft tyres. Let's see what we can do. We'll leave us no spare soft tyres available that are new, but we'll have some used soft tyres that have only done the lap and a half.
There's only 1 lap of fuel remaining
for the race, so it's not too bad and won't compromise my race too much. However, by the looks of it, starting on the soft compound, if we qualify in the top 10, wouldn't actually be a bad shout right now for the one. Let's have a little look at these standings, see how close we are. So there you go, people are starting to improve now. 32.60 is quite a long way down actually on those top guys. The extremist, knowing that I've got mistakes in there, I'd certainly expect him to be around the 131.8, 131.9, and that sort of block there. I'm not actually entirely sure who this is beneath these two. Jonathan Cox, I believe, is leading the championship, so when he does go out, he's on a flying lap now. I'd expect him to jump to the top of the table. Jake there, not a representative lap, he might be going again. He's got a flying lap next to him. And Cesium, I would also expect quite a challenge from. So it could be a case of just scraping in top 10 by a couple of hundredths of a second, but we'll see how we get on. I'm going to go back out, get out of the way, and then we'll see what happens in the last part as drivers put in their final time lapse. Really is a quick pit exit here, as you can see. So that's turn 1, we've already gone round. This is the heavy turn 2 braking zone. So come turn 2 for the first time, I will be taking it extremely cautiously. It is one of those that can catch you out, but also there will be someone who outbrakes themselves. We've all done it, I've done it before, thankfully getting a little bit better at it. But yeah, not ideal, and there is a very high chance of it here with such a high closing in speed, with such a long run from the start finish line to that first initial turn and heavy braking zone of the race. So sort of Jonathan Cox actually retired there. I'm not sure whether that was a incident on track, so the track did go yellow, and I don't think he's actually set a time. Unless he set a time first and then box. I'm not 100% sure. We'll have a little look into that shortly. Time being knocked down to P8 with a few of the faster guys going ahead, so times are improving. So hopefully a little bit of a cleaner lap and match some of the braking zones, and we'll hopefully be able to improve ourselves. A little bit of a better exit, still caught a little bit of the grass there, not ideal again. We are through turn 1 and down to the heavy braking zone turn 2. Hopefully this flying lap will be an improvement, but currently 10th best time so far that I've recorded in this qualifying session with 3 minutes to go. A wheel spin coming off the curb there, but still alright. I've got a green delta, saving a little bit of time. Nothing much, but that could potentially be the difference between P8 and P9, or vice versa if someone puts in a better time. Right on the limit there through that left-hander. Got a little bit of traffic to deal with. Hopefully we'll keep out of the way. Yeah, lovely, he's boxing, so plenty of time there not to worry about him. Last corner, there we go, nearly 3/10 quicker. It doesn't improve position, but it will improve the
rain is forecast. Pitting
time.
this lap then, come into the pits at the end of this lap.
There you go, nice steady inlet then to care for the tyres, because obviously it does look as though I could be starting out on these tyres now. Sat in P8 at the minute. A couple of guys behind that could improve, but again 1 minute 46 left, so they would have to be on their outlaps now if they want to improve. I can't actually see that many on the track. The Extremist is out in the Red Bull. I can see a Ferrari, which I believe is Paul. I might be mistaken by that actually, but I'll have to clarify when I get in the garage. What we'll do though is we'll get back in the garage and ride on board some of these guys that are around us and see whether they manage to jump us in the qualifying session in the last few moments. Looks like just coming on the back of my teammate there. I think he's just on an outlap. He is on an outlap, ready to go again. So I can't see him being sat in front of us for long. He is normally with quite a lot more pace over one lap. I think he's let me through. I don't think he realises that I'm going into the pits again. Sometimes it is a little bit hard to know who's on a in lap, out lap and flying lap. Flying lap you do tend to be able to notice pretty obviously, but if they catch you at the wrong point, it can be a very
30 seconds left in the session.
Dangerous. There we go, and into the pits, out of the way, out of danger, and there goes my teammate onto his final timed flying lap. So Jonathan Cox has actually set a time, then retired. Obviously he's happy with that time by the looks of it, to have retired. RRC Optics, he's done a few last minute surprises to put him right up the top end of the order. He needs to find 6/10 there to get Mikey, but it is doable. As you see, there's always a little bit of extra time. Push here, push there, roll in and out the corners a little bit better with slightly less braking. Every inch counts on this track. Also can also destroy your race if you go an inch too wide. There you go. So Paul has finished in P11 behind. He cannot improve. Extremist has finished the session, as has JFW. So the bottom 8 are now, from 8th downwards, are locked in. That is where they will finish, including myself, in P9 for the start of the race. So we've got Mikey on the lap. He's not on the lap at all there. It looks like he's on an in lap. And Jake Lee has just crossed the line. Interesting style. Obviously wanting to mark the end of the session nicely. Now just got a couple of cars going into the pits, and then we will form through for the race. So about 2 minutes till we go ahead with the race. In terms of qualifying, last time out at Russia I was P14 of 16 on the grid. Tonight P9 apologies, of 12. So a couple from the back, which is to be expected over one lap. Hopefully I can make a little bit of it in the race. I'd expect the Extremists to go quite hard and challenge into turn 2 for the first heavy braking zone. Does tend to race further up the field, so I don't know whether he's had an issue on his lap or maybe he just couldn't put that one lap together on this occasion. But oh no, there we go, he's actually done it on the medium tyre. There we go, that's why he's slower. If he wasn't on the medium tyre, it would have been about a second up from that. Probably looking around P7 where the likes of Cesium and Mazepin are. So with that, he's going for a slightly alternate strategy. As for those outside the top 10, I'd expect them to go to the mediums to start as well. Gives them a little bit more of an option with strategy, dependent if there's a safety car. If there's no safety car, they can go long, and obviously the soft runners will be forced into a pit stop. There we go, so just loading through onto the grid. Will be about 1 minute. We'll have formation lap as per normal, and then onto the race in a couple of moments. In terms of the setup, I've made a few minor tweaks, which does seem to be a little bit more comfortable, especially in the fast sweeping corners, and I've actually loosened up the back end a little bit, so it is a little bit twitchy in and out of certain corners, especially if you clip the curb, but not to worry, it does seem pretty stable. There you go, so selected strategy on the screen there. I think we'll pretty much stay with that unless there's a safety car, and then maybe throw up a slightly different strategy and play it by ear, but you never know what's going to come. There we go, just loading up. So that flying Red Bull behind that, with me being in his sister team, AlphaTauri. Red Bull would expect to be in front of us, including the driver this evening. Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo there behind. Not entirely sure who the drivers are, so might be quite new to the league. I haven't had the opportunity to race with so far, so be interested to see what they are like
is
on
good,
the actual
but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them and warm the tyres as well, please.
There we are, while we're on our warm-up lap then. The Extremist is trying to show me his nose, say hello, I am here, I will be fighting for this position. He's off into the distance for formation lap, but hey ho, I'll leave him to it. Bottom right corner of the screen, you'll see that I've got my temperature delta up, just for a little bit of view for you, those that don't always see it. Just so we start warming the tyres up. Both got the temperature and the temperature for the surface and for the carcass shown on there. Also, as we go into heavy braking zones, you might see the brakes go red. Don't worry if they go red with exclamation marks. It is quite normal, we are used to it, and no, it does not affect the car, as long as we give it the opportunity to slow back down. Slow back down, cool back down. Apologies.
Radar is clear, weather is looking good for now.
Certainly focusing as much as I need to for a Grand Prix. Not actually sure what the total laps are that we have ahead of us this evening. I believe it's around the 29:30 mark for Russia, but as we sit on the grid for the lights to go out, it will appear in the top right corner for confirmation of how many laps we have ahead of us this evening. It was on the strategy as well, but honestly I did not clock it when I was accepting this strategy. It was pre-approved, as I do my own strategy as we go, dependent on my tyre wear. As we can see on the screen at the minute, the tyre wear's looking pretty healthy considering that we qualified on these tyres as well, so they've done 3 laps plus this formation lap here, so 4 laps on these tyres already as we enter the final couple of corners, and it resets us into our grid box for the start of the Russian Grand Prix. There we are then, next
the
time
rest
we
of the grid is forming
this,
up. Be patient and watch for the light.
Hopefully end of turn 1. Have a nice clean first lap. Everyone's looking good. 3, 4, 5 lights. Lights out and away we go. Wow, that was a long light hold there. Rare to get lights just that. Got a decent start. I've got Extremist there on the inside taking a run. He is well and truly gone. Now this is where we've got to be careful into turn 1. Certainly going to be a lot of jostling for position here. Got to try and keep it clean and in the limits. tough ask sometimes on the first turn, and there are cars left, right and centre. Ferrari behind, just trying to keep it clean on this first lap. We've got Jake there, a little bit heavy on the brakes than I would have liked to have been, so lost a little bit of time, but there we are, obviously a little bit cautious on turn 1. Everyone wants to make it through the first lap. You can see JFW and Jake having a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there, but nothing that's going to cause any permanent damage. And now these guys will probably pull away a little bit, I would have thought, based on their pace against mine. So it's just about finding that rhythm now, getting lap in, lap out, getting some good track lap times. I don't know if anyone had any incidents up ahead, but it did look like a pretty clean start. If anyone did have any issues at the start, you'll probably see them boxing this lap, but no one noticed any winglets decide to take a flying leap off, or any front wings walking across.
Alright, let's focus now for the rest of the race.
Dive there into the pit lane. I just want to see if JFW behind does enter the pits or not. No, he has stayed out, so he did not take any damage there during that first lap wheel-to-wheel touch with Jake, which is good to hear. So all 12 cars through the first lap cleanly. And now everyone will start to settle in to look after their time management on this first stint and see how long they can press before having to make their first pit stop. So sadly did lose 2 places on that opening lap, 1 to the Extremist and 1 to Jake. Not ideal, but it kind of expected. Jake, I'm quite surprised actually, he's got very good pace off that start and that first initial lap, so I've certainly got to up the game a little bit there. Now, only other thing is, we don't know what fuel mixtures or what ERS these guys are using, so they could be deploying everything they've got right now to attack on these soft tyres at the start, or they could be hanging back like myself. Now obviously I'm going to keep a little bit in reserve for later on. I do like a little bit of clean air, and that's where I might play for the undercut, dependent on how we get on.
DRS is now enabled.
Just change the strategy up there a little bit, see if that might play a part in tonight's race. Always does, and it also covers you if there is a safety car, save you having to rush to change your multifunction display, and let your team know that you are planning a different strategy. So if we did get a safety car now, I am covered and got the tyre selected that I would go on to, which would be the hard compound. However, if we obviously get towards the medium compound stint, we can change that back and hopefully draw a 1 stop out that way. Hard compound not ideal around here, but if it did mean the difference between a 1 and a 2 stop if there was an early safety car, I certainly would choose the hard, because there is such a large time loss in the pit lane here. Around 28 seconds, you really wouldn't risk taking a second stop and track position. Yes, there are overtaking points, but certainly find it a lot easier to defend than to overtake and close the gap down. So see, the guys behind have fallen to 9 seconds behind now already. I didn't know either the names, so potentially they are new to the league, both learning, or could be learning new assists. A lot of the guys racing do race in other leagues on other nights as well. So it could have come from one of those leagues, or could just join us as beginners this evening, where we will begin.
Gap to teammate ahead is 5.6 seconds.
Personal best lap there. I think we're just getting in a little bit of a groove now, so we'll try and keep up these lap times, although obviously they will start to fade as the tyres start to degrade. As they start to wear. Wow. I really can't get my words out right now. I do apologise for anyone watching. I'm sure you're having a right laugh at my expense. So see ahead in P8 is the Extremis. He has picked up his first 3-second penalty.
Is there if you need it.
That is for exceeding track limits on 3 occasions. So you will get 2 warnings, followed by a 3-second penalty on the 3rd. So that's certainly good to keep him in that 3-second window, but it's very early on. As I say, majority of drivers will probably pick up a penalty at some point or another. That's quite tidy, not had a warning as of yet, which is always good, but this is only lap 4 of 27, so quite a long way to go here in this Russian Grand Prix this evening. And honestly, having quite a little lonely race out here in P10 at the moment. 2.3 seconds behind Jake, and 13.8 seconds in front of JFW and Paul in the background, who seem to be switching positions, having a little bit of fight there. Paul is on the medium tyre there, so he'll be looking to go for a longer first stint and bolt on a set of fresh softs for the back end of the Grand Prix, making him pretty racy, so he might have a little bit more pace later on. JFW there is on the same tyre. It probably would have been a fresh set as well, starting outside the top 10, so quite interesting to see that he's going slower. He has also picked up a 5-second penalty there as he enters the pit lane. That'll be for speeding, so if he does make a second pit stop later on, which with such an early first pit stop I would expect him to need to, he will have to serve that. If he does not take a second pit stop later on in the Grand Prix, he will find a 5-second time penalty on his final position. So a bit of an odd stop there, and the fact that he just had Paul go through, I'm wondering if there may have been a little bit of contact back there that we are unaware of, and potentially a front wing change. He has gone to the hard tyres though, which is a little bit of a stretch, but probably could be drawn out to the checkered flag if need be.
Gap to car in front is 3.6 seconds.
There we go, Cesium span there, look, it just caught the curb. As I said in qualifying, catch the curb at the wrong point, you can be pulled in.
Green flag.
So thank you. He will not be overly happy with that. He is going to be trying to get his car back to the pits. By the looks of it, he is in the pits now. But thank you very much for that position, and I'll be bolting up the track. Now he'll probably bolt on the hards and try and get them to the end. However, will he get them there is a big question now. He has gone on the hard tyre, but he's got a lot of ground to make up, and obviously we will be going on to the medium compound ideally later on in this race, which should give us a little bit more pace. And he's certainly had a very slow pit stop there. In fact, he's still in the pits. Now obviously if it was a front wing change, which we would expect with seeing him in the wall, that will take about an additional 5 seconds on your normal pit time, so you're looking around 8 seconds. Plus it would have been a slow in to there. There is a bit of front wing there, don't know what has happened. I think that might have been Jake up ahead. So the Williams is now vulnerable, and we could well see him peel into the pits for hard tyres as well. There we are, yeah, he's definitely got plenty of damage on there as we close him in at quite a speed. Now we expect him to pit, so won't fight too hard going down here.
Front wing damage.
Into
Be aware on the approach.
There we are, as he peels off. So they try and put some good laps in now. Could give us an opportunity to pull the overcut here as well. Not only has he got our front wing change, which will cost him a little bit of extra time, but the overcut will also give me fresh tyres towards the end, and hopefully a better strategy in terms of tyre compound. Again, he's gone on the medium tyre. He's expecting the medium to go to the end. I would be shocked if that is the case. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go back in for soft tyres right towards the end of the race. or he's hoping on a safety car perhaps to aid him in that later on, but we'll see how we get on. JFW there leaving the session now. That was unplanned, unscheduled, so I will take a wild guess that might just be an internet connection issue. So hopefully we'll see him rejoin in a couple of moments' time. Looking ahead, both cars in front now, Extremist and Mazepin with 3-second penalties and finds themselves in P8. Obviously this is due to pit stops, so it is a little bit of an interval right now. You can't always judge, it depends on your own pit stop and obviously keeping it clean up until then. And then afterwards obviously making sure we're putting in consistent laps again on the medium compound tyre, but also keeping it clean, not causing any damage to yourself where you then have to take a second pit stop and could quite easily drop to the back of the field for this evening. Have a little look through while we're going through the straight.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the hards.
Certainly going to change off the strategy that we have set now, because it is thinking I'm going to change onto them, which I'm really not planning on. We've got quite a bit of wear starting to build up though, as you can see, but we'll take these soft tyres as long as possible. Certainly feel pretty grippy still now, still putting in fairly decent laps for the time being. To make this strategy work I do need to go on to the mediums though, just to keep ahead. As we can see, Jake is closed in 2 seconds on that lap. That is because he is now on obviously fresh medium tyres, so he will be hitting it hard, trying to hit the ground running, and he's trying to reduce that gap, so I haven't got a pit stop window over him. He certainly would like to be back in front of me after I've pit, but I'll do everything in my power to prevent that. As I say, if he is trying to get those mediums to the end, they will be absolutely
careful,
shot.
We think you're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
Grand Prix. So it's become a very lonely race here actually in P8 as it is at the moment. 6.7 behind the Extremist ahead on his medium tyres, obviously trying to go long, and then we'll probably bolt on the softs for the end of the race. 22.2 to Paul behind. Obviously the guys behind have now pit. No, my mistake, sorry. Paul has not pit yet, and just catching that corner, giving them the first warning for this evening. Mazepin there, obviously tumbling a position to the Extremist. Looks like pretty standard overtake into turn 2, into that heavy braking zone. It might have been under DRS just before the braking zone, by how early it was and where they were on the track map. They're starting to lose a little bit of grip now. It's just taking it easy.
Okay, gap ahead is 6.7 seconds.
These curves too much. We don't want to pick up a 3-second penalty. Everyone else around us does have a 3-second penalty so far, but to be expected. More so a question of when it will appear on my screen as a 3-second penalty once I've done the 2 corner cuts, as it were, or invalidations just running over the curbs rather than if I get one. Very, very hard to finish a Grand Prix without.
We're at +1 lap of extra fuel. Fuel target +1.
Ooh, and a little bit of oversteer there, which actually did cost us a warning for exceeding track limits. Again, that is as the tyres are now starting to switch off a little bit.
In this lap, push now.
There we are, so we've seen the message on the right hand side for the pit board. And we'll just confirm.
Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap.
There we are. So pit crew know that they are going to be required. Vantage got this evening, teammate is Clarkey. Now he is quite a distance ahead, so we won't have an issue with double stacking if he did pit on this lap. He may well decide to go longer and extend his stint. As we see, Jonathan Cox, the current championship leader, is now 3-7 behind, but obviously he has just made his pit stop, unlike myself. So he will fly back past, and probably around 15 seconds ahead by the time I've exited the pits, if not further up the field than that. Just see a slight glimpse of the car in the rearview mirror. There we go, and it will probably come pretty close as he's... Ooh, a little bit of slider. There we go, definitely time to get off these tyres now. That is a good proof of it. It suddenly just died and hit the wall, falling off the cliff on that particular lap. As we see the pit lane entrance for hopefully the one and only pit stop during this Grand Prix. There we are, into the box. Hopefully a nice quick pit stop there.
Complete, go now.
Standard 2.7 pit stop, that's about as quick as they get. It is the default time for all teams within the game. Yeah, 2.6, so it means I've released it as quickly as possible.
See these tyres through to the end now.
There we go, so a little bit of a race here. These guys are the guys I was racing with earlier. Jake has got ahead in the end there, but not by a lot. So he is now on around 6 lap. No, sorry, it won't be 6. About 4 or 5 lap old medium. So he's got a little extra to get out of his tyres. So hopefully they will fall off the cliff a little bit later, and potentially that could bring us into contention. We'll set that up ready just in case we do have an incident or safety car. So after that pit stop, it has dropped us into P9. Now I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think anyone else
charge is high.
Is
Let's use that overtake button more.
Paul behind is due to pit still, so we've actually managed to get a full pit stop ahead during that first stint. So when he pits, you will see him drop back down the order, and he will be quite a considerable time behind. Guys around me now picking up to 6 seconds worth of penalties, which is quite interesting to see. Could all play the difference in the final standings. Now I probably will pick up a 3-second penalty any time. I've had 2 warnings. Next time will be my 3 strikes and a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, but the other guys have already received theirs, so doesn't overly worry me too much. Cesium behind, 7.9 behind on the hard tyres now. He's one I'll need to keep an eye on the times. He can be extremely quick when he wants to be. Now I don't know how the hard tyre is around here. Can't imagine it'll be very friendly. But hopefully if we keep taking time out of him rather than losing time, that would be brilliant. But I would expect him to close that gap down at some point and give me a little bit of fight later on in this race. He's currently got a 6-second penalty as well. So not only would he have to get past me, but as it stands he would need to get 6 seconds up the road, or he would lose that position to me on penalties. Also looking at penalties, Jake currently needs to pull out another 2 seconds to be clear of penalties as it stands, but obviously we are not quite at the halfway stage yet. As you see, quite a few fastest laps suddenly get posted. Now those guys have obviously just pit and bolted on a new set of rubber. So they will be obviously going for it now. They've all just gone on to medium tyres at a wild guess. They were all on soft for qualifying. That's just nice and tidy. There we are. And there we go, straight away putting in a best time. And that is simply because the tyre that we started the race on, although a softer compound, was used in qualifying. So already had quite a fair bit of use on the tyre. Quite surprised to actually see 12 runners still. We've not actually had anyone DNF this session as of yet, which is quite impressive. Cesium was very, very close to it with his spin earlier, and very lucky not to, but he is still racing as he's 8 seconds behind at the moment, although as I said he has started closing that in by about a tenth, but a tenth lap will not get him up to us by the end of the race. So he's certainly got a little bit he'll be thinking about in terms of strategy. And as Jake takes another penalty up to 9 seconds now, he has really got to look at stretching his legs a little bit on these more worn tyres as well. If he wants to finish ahead this evening.
We're catching the car ahead, but be aware that these tyres need to last till the end of the race.
So currently based on point, only looking at getting 2 points as it is in P9 currently. But that could quite well change if we manage to keep the 9 seconds of Jake and he does stay ahead. It will promote us to P8 to begin with, and potentially beyond. Maz's been up ahead of that with a 6 second penalty. He's only 7.5 up the road. He's pulling away about 2-3 tenths a lap at the moment. So if I could keep that within 9 seconds and not keep it clean myself, there are potential to be made. There we go.
We've been awarded a time penalty.
As I
We'll
say
go
it,
against our finishing time at the end of the race.
That first time penalty, 3 seconds. Hopefully we'll keep it just to the 1. But now it gives the guys ahead a little bit of an easier task, trying to just get the 6 seconds ahead of me, rather than having to be 9 for Jake there. It's slightly deep into that corner, certainly won't help me in my fight with Jake this evening. A little bit of a scrappy middle sector there, so I need to just tidy it up a bit and rein it back in. See Jake take a couple of tenths out of me. 4.7 in front. Oh, there is a winglet there though. If that is Jake, that could be him forced into another pit stop that he really wouldn't want to make this evening. I'd guess by the fact we've just gained 1 second on him in a straight. That was his front wing. Yeah, definitely Jake there. So hopefully this will turn into quite easy pickings here. Unlucky for Jake. He's been using the wheel for about 3 weeks so now. He's actually gone into AI, which is very odd. There we go. It hasn't. It was just a momentary thing. Can it even be something as bizarre as your controller turning off? We have had that before. He's not going to give this up easily, even though he's struggling with his wing. Because he knows the more he delays me now, the more chance he's got catching me on fresh tyres. There you go, he's got to give it. He just went a little bit wide there. Although he's going to give me a good run for his money. I'm going to have to try and take the cutback. No, he's giving me fair space there. Thank you, mate. That was appreciated. He fought firm, fair, but there's only so much you can do with a broken front wing.
Fuel is looking really good. You're managing it well.
Oh, the excess speed there, though, did nearly catch us out. We're going a bit deep. See, DRS does give you about 12 kilometres an hour extra, sorry. It is shown in mile per hour on mine, but it's worked as kilometres per hour. So we get a first warning on this next one, and Jake heads into the pits. The Extremist has just pit as well for his soft tyres, so he's on new softs. After his medium stint, and he's still 11 seconds in front, so he's firmly got some distance on us after the start of that Grand Prix. So task ahead is Mazepin 8.7, so he's actually drawn out 2 seconds on us in this last lap, so not ideal. Probably can't see us realistically catching him. But we are keeping Cesium now at bay behind at the moment.
Seconds.
What are we? 7.2. Yeah, he has gained about a second Cesium in the last 4 laps. But at that pace, again, he is going to be doubtful to reach us by the end of the race on those tyres, unless we do have a mistake, which is always possible. So well over halfway now. Most of those guys that did start on the medium tyre, I think there was about 4 or 5 runs on the medium tyre to start with, unlike the rest of us on the softs, will now be boxing, or would have boxed already now, for their soft tyre for the foreseeable future, and hopefully till the end of the race they'll be hoping, unless there's any other instance. I must admit, this is one of the most uneventful races I've had, in quite a large gap now, as it seems. 9.5 seconds to the car in front, 6.6 behind, although Cesium is closing that, so it could well come down to a last lap battle with 11 laps to go. See Jake behind, 28 seconds down, but he's also just picked up another penalty, taking him up to 12 seconds this season. And Extremes have also picked up penalties, taking him to 9 seconds. So this race certainly is not over as of yet. Anyone can make a mistake, including myself, but those penalties are tallying up on others quicker than myself, which could be all to play for at the end of this race.
The gap to the car ahead is 10.4 seconds.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Mazepin also went onto his tyres much earlier than myself, so if that was the case, and I'm right in saying that, I'm not 100% sure, that means his tyres will hit the cliff. I'm hoping it does come before the end of the Grand Prix, and he can't keep putting these times in.
At the moment, the car behind us is lapping faster than us by around 1 second per lap.
So we've got Cesium really starting to close in now. I don't know whether he's just hit warp mode or found his rhythm, but he's certainly closing in now pretty quick, as it seems. And Jake takes fastest lap. Now, only downside for that is he's borderline 10th at the minute. If he does drop below that, he will actually lose it. You do need to be in the top 10 to get that extra point for fastest lap. And there we go, Clarkey, my teammate in the other AlphaTauri, has just stolen that fastest lap, which, to be fair, was expected that it would go to someone for the top end. Either Clarkey, Mikey, or Jonathan Cox would be my guess at those particular 3 putting in fastest laps this evening. Anyone can make a surprise, but yeah, they are the 3 that you would normally back and not look back on your choices out of the races we have.
We've got a lot of spare energy. Use your overtake button.
So definitely going to have a battle on our hands 8 laps remaining, 4.5 seconds to Cesium behind. Those hard tyres may be just coming into that window now where they are better than the mediums. Best of the performance has gone out of these mediums now, although they will now give a consistent pace, if I can keep my line. Those hards will now be in their ultimate prime, so he's going to use them quite wisely, I'd presume. He's down to 4 seconds. He's taking chunks out of us here. Cesium is normally a faster driver and normally up ahead, so I was surprised to see him behind, to be completely honest. However, he has still got that extra 3 seconds worth of penalties at the moment, as it stands. So he's got to pass and get 3 seconds, so it could just be a case of delaying him. There is a yellow flag up ahead. It is a Renault, and they are pitting it is Mazepin. So he's obviously had a little bit of a slip there, maybe, taking his front wing at presumption, same place that Cesium did. Not quite as dramatically as Cesium, being in the wall.
The car behind is gaining on you by 0.5 a lap.
But that is a gift to P7 there that I certainly wasn't expecting. However, it could very easily turn out to be P8 by the time it gets to the end of the Grand Prix, with Cesium closing in ever closer each lap. If he gets within that 1 second DRS zone, he's going to be like a train on the first part of the lap. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be much I can do to defend at that point. If he does get the DRS, or when he gets the DRS at the pace he is closing. He has just got another penalty there though, taking him up to 9 seconds. So he is now not only going to have to pass me, but gain 6 seconds as it stands. So 6 seconds clear. He could probably make up that in about 2 to 3 laps. But the question is he going to gain on myself and manage to get past in the next 3 laps? He'll be fighting to make that time up, but my job now, fight to keep it clean and keep him out of that zone where he can do that, get into DRS. Now, doing scrappy little chicanes like that won't help, losing 2/10 there. I actually feel like I've got less grip on these than I did on the soft tyre after this amount of laps, so quite interesting.
Gap to car in front is 27.0 seconds.
So it is time, just getting my head down a little bit there, as you probably hear by the slight radio silence. Time definitely to keep my focus, get head down. If anyone's going to make a mistake up ahead now, I wouldn't mind it. If it pushed him into another pit stop, it would be quite nice. I think realistically, even if Mikey or above that did have an incident now and pit, depending on how severe it was, if it was just a front wing change, they would still probably come out ahead and their penalties wouldn't drop them behind me. However, if the extremist did have a pit stop now or for the remainder of this race, highly doubtful, but if he took damage, he would come out about level with me, but obviously he would then have to go and find some time up the track. So we see Cesium behind, break the 2 second barrier. And managing to maintain it for one moment, but he is getting ever closer to that DRS zone, and I can just see that speck of red in the mirror. Looking like the one and only battle I might have this evening, other than the opening lap, will be on the penultimate few laps here at Sochi. Putting in a personal best first sector by 69 thousandths of a second. And that's on used tyres, so you can see how much I'm trying to force this car now in and out of the corners. It is not enough. He's still closing a tenth at a time as he gets ever bigger in that rear view mirror. He's going to break the 1 second barrier, I presume, on not this lap but probably on the next.
Full course caution.
And there is
the safety
a
car
safety
is out.
car.
Keep an eye on the delta. We need to keep it positive to avoid a penalty. Slow down, maintain positive delta.
Ooh, way over the delta, way over the delta. Where are you off season? I'd slow down for the delta, so you surely did.
There's 5 laps of fuel remaining.
Now, I might make myself a sitting duck, but I'm going to go for track position over... that might have been a mistake, actually, to stay out of that. That may have just been a mistake. Now, I'm not sure who's lost it. I think it might have been Mazepin again, who has had the incident. No, it's not. I do apologise. That is just the safety car waiting.
The safety car is waiting for the leader. You may overtake it. Overtake the safety car.
Whoops.
Okay, slow down, slow down. Your delta is negative, which means you are too fast. Reduce your
pace. We are going to be a
pace.
sitting duck if we stay on these tyres. So, I think like everyone else, might just have to bite the bullet here. Cesium's picked up a drive-through penalty. I presume that is for speeding under the safety car. Now that has kind of ruined a race that we were probably going to be looking to get at the end of this race. A little bit of a head-to-head, and Extremist up to 12 seconds in penalties. I could quite easily see another penalty, just need one more occasion of exceeding track limits. We're going to try and keep as close to that delta as we can. There we go, delta's disappeared. The leader has caught the safety car.
Understood, stopping this lap.
There we go, everyone else has done exactly the same. There we go, in for final part of the race then. So, Mikey just exiting the pits as I enter. Now we will all bunch up. I'm not sure why John is... John is in 5th place. Quite interested to see what the... very long pit stop there, not quite sure why my team decided it would be nice for me to have an extra long pit stop, but there we are. Now, Cesium will go past, however, he has got a drive-through penalty to serve, so it's not really an issue if he does go past here, which he should do. I don't think he will. He's not actually going to make it past anyway, but he will take his... I was going to say, be nice mate, we're under safety car, you can't overtake. Thank you.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
It'll be quite interesting to see how this race now pans out for this last sector. It's certainly going to be exciting once cars all bunch up. Lap 24, it's going to be lap 25. 20. It might only be a 2-lap sprint to end this race now. So these penalties that people have built up could come to bite them. Jonathan Cox sat in P5 there with 12 seconds. Mikey ahead has only got 3 seconds now. He is much quicker. I'd expect them to get up the road. Jonathan Cox I'd normally expect to get up the road, but is he able to pull 9 seconds out in what is looking to be 2 laps? It is highly doubtful to pull 3 seconds a lap, especially considering we are now all on soft tyres. Bar sees him behind. Now he has got this drive through. We'll probably take him to the back of the grid, which would be sad to see him go in P11 this evening, but it is what it is. It does happen. So we'd expect the safety car in this lap with a 2-lap sprint to the finish. We do need to make sure we can catch these guys in front, so we are actually having to push a little bit harder than maybe expected on a safety car lap, just to make sure we are with them, but we will easily catch them looking as they go into this next corner. So backing it off a little bit as we rejoin the grid. This is where the leaders are normally thumping themselves, thinking, hang on a minute, what has actually happened here tonight? Obviously they've gone and worked hard to build up a lead.
Pick up the pace a touch, please. We need to close to within 10 car lengths of the car
lead
ahead.
In the distance, a yellow flag can be waved. I see Optics leave the session now. I don't know whether maybe that was what brought out the flag, Optics having an issue. But certainly target tonight now to jump those with the 12-second penalties. So we've got the extremist now. He's quite a way up. He's actually managed to get up into the podium positions, I think, by the looks of it, through this safety car. Jonathan Cox there in P5 with 12 seconds.
Let's get ready to go racing again. The safety car is in this lap. When the field accelerates, remember, there is no overtaking until the green flags.
Got Jake
safety car in this lap.
Behind on 12 seconds. Now, if he does go for an overtake, I won't be too forceful, but at the same time, certainly don't want him holding us up or causing a collision, because it could jump us quite a few places here in the final part of this race. So for anyone watching, this is really going to be very strange to have a 2-lap sprint to the end.
There's
I'm not
3
entirely
laps
sure what's going to happen.
remaining.
We have also got a lap car in the way of JFW in there, which is slightly confusing, I must admit. But obviously he did lose connection earlier on.
The track is clear. Green flag.
Oh.
We're trailing our teammate by 2.3 seconds.
Straight through. Pulling over to the side there as he is a lapped vehicle.
You're dropping a second a lap to the car behind. 1 second.
And someone's gone off there up ahead. I'm not sure who it was. There we go, although Cesium's got drive-through will play nicely. Show him that is my racing line, that is my corner. Please lead me to it. As we slightly overburn it. There we go. So this race is coming to us a little bit at the end here. P7 as we enter the last few bits, and Cesium trying to go around the outside. Really, really surprising. See him do that there. Oh, got Jake right on us. Oh, Jesus. Nearly got sandwiched in a bit there. There we go, and back around. Taking the racing line. Nice racing by both the lads. All 3 of us, I think, had to back off at certain points. I've just picked up another penalty there.
You've been awarded a time penalty for that last incident.
Jonathan Cox 2 seconds ahead. Certainly don't want him to get any further ahead than that. This is it. Last lap of the race. Got to keep him within 6 seconds. Same as the extremist. If we can, we could be looking at the top 5 finish here tonight, which would be an amazing result. Obviously, all thanks to that last-minute safety car there. And they are fighting as well, which will actually slow them down. Don't think they realise there's a threat behind. Cesium has not taken his drive-through penalty, so he will get another penalty on top of that for not serving it at the end of the race. I don't know whether it's actually a disqualification, if I'm not mistaken. Now giving it all final last time down one of the straights, going into the final sector, final lap.
Remaining.
Not much left we can do now, but stick with these guys ahead, let them fight it out. We've got these positions anyway, as long as we cross the line in one piece because of their penalties. Even if I picked up another penalty
clear.
now, we would finish in front. These two fighting hard out, knowing they've both got the same amount of penalties. There we are, across the line, and that puts us up into P4 after the penalties. What a race, and only 3 seconds off. If Clarkey, teammate, did happen to have another penalty there, it would have cost him a podium position. I'll certainly take a P4, and there we go. Teammate Clarkey there got driver of the day in the end. Between us, both coming from 8th and 9th on the grid, I think we can be very happy as a team. Massive points all there for AlphaTauri as well. Would have been nice to have a double podium. But there you have it. P4 certainly wasn't expecting anything like it. Was expecting maybe a P8 as we heard earlier on, but that race really did come to us with the strategy at the end there. Definitely the right call to come in onto those medium tyres. Potentially, if we had stayed out on those mediums, it could have been potential to get a podium, but that is the call at the end of it. Walker P1, Mike P2, Clarkey in P3 in the sister car, in the AlphaTauri in the other car, and a P4, I don't know where I pulled that from. A little bit of luck there towards the back end, but really happy with that. Extremes in the Red Bull P5, Jonathan Cox P6, it would be gutted with that safety car timing. Optics there P7, Jake in P8, Season P9, who obviously had that drive-through penalty at the end there as well. I think Mazepin was the car we lost in the end there. Oh no, one hell of a race. Certainly some good points there. Turns out P4, what's that, 12 points in race terms, so it'll certainly be good for a Tuesday night race. Seem to be quite lucky on a Tuesday night, and I believe, in fact, will put me up 1, maybe 2 positions in the tables as well. So I think we're going to jump up to P7, potentially P6 in the driver's standings after that, and I believe AlphaTauri may have just taken the lead back in the constructors standings. Just trying to have a little look through now. Do some quick mental maths. Where are we? There we are. Hall of Fame into the championship standings on the Tuesday night. Went into this race on where are we? Do apologise. Yes, I don't think we're quite there to take top spot, but we've certainly closed that gap to the Mercedes today with tonight's race. Thank you for watching, anyone who's watched. Mexico Grand Prix tomorrow night, same time, 8 o'clock. Hopefully I have better showing than I managed last time out in Mexico, which was a little bit scrappy in terms of penalties. But ended on a high tonight, P4.